about the vision for the town, that comes from the council. And actually, it's right here in the comprehensive plan.
Well, that's why I was saying.
Yeah, we should use that.
The two paragraphs that I circled, I think are perfect. Maybe just a little rewording. Yep, revision in 2013.
And it is on the website.
Yeah. All of it.
Okay, this one doesn't have any.
But somewhere it says like we should look at it every 10 years. A couple of meetings ago, Catherine thought maybe we should start looking at it now.
I always have to
Since you're talking about it,
Oh, easy, oh, yeah.
And that wouldn't be a planning board, that includes people from the community, the school.
Yeah, the planning board advertised that they're going through section.
And they'll notify the committee, the
And
council.
Yes.
I think Steve sent this over to Katie Cobb, didn't he?
They will help,
Yeah.
but it's ultimately up to the board.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
It's going to be a 2-hour meeting, right?
Good evening, Miss Soon-to-be Mayor.
No. You wanted it, maybe you got it.
Working on a plane.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Like Grizzly fans, right?
I mean, obviously.
Yes, I was.
Anyway,
I thought it might have been.
Yeah, I was looking for that. I didn't know what I did.
I did with it.
but I could rewrite this and when you.
It looked like my marijuana folder, so I grabbed it.
That's how he owns the block.
And maybe putting it in.
Years and years.
I'm sick, other than that, I'm all right. You? Yeah, I don't mind that. Back up. Oh.
Occasionally overseas, when I'm chasing a big.
I'm trying to coordinate all the
Because I have to have
Be
the.
quiet. Good to see you.
Much till I came to the site.
Oh, you got it right. You got it right.
Anyway, good to see you.
I have one. That's my big bag. I bring that one when I need both books.
Steve.
The wilds of New York mean the city.
That's more wild.
I'm sure it is.
Just sitting there with his head down.
What's it you have?
Doing something on his phone, hoping no one will recognize him.
He said, when did you have it? Jump through the phone to me.
Volvo hat gets nowhere.
It's nice to share, isn't it?
I know.
Okay, what the
Yes.
No.
Whoops.
Have we heard from the other counselors? Okay.
Doesn't help your foot, makes you mind.
Caleb usually comes in 10 minutes later, and then Bob is still working on the plan.
Well, I wasn't expecting Bob, but
20 days.
right now, we don't have a quorum.
Yeah, somebody will come in.
One more.
I know Howie's away.
Oh, he is?
Howie's away.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
And Bob is
I can
out.
stand in
I was
and walk.
visiting.
They deputize me.
Is that one for you? There's only 3.
Yep.
That one? Yeah. Yeah, it was a place of work. Went down yesterday. And they went to
All right. It hasn't come through the council yet.
Yeah, it's gonna be mostly domestic. Mostly in North America, South America. Maybe occasionally, maybe in Saudi and overseas.
In the minutes, it mentioned the main DOT application for culvert repair.
Yes, so
Grant.
the DEP permit, that will come out.
So have we started that process?
No, I did send that to Steve.
They're still.
I don't think the application's out, they're supposed to be notified the day they go out. They said it was coming.
Do you know when any of the pre-application work should be?
It's a very, this is probably one of the more complicated ones I've seen.
Okay.
You need to identify,
some
you know, the actual culprits.
It was on four, so she couldn't.
We need to figure out where you got, and then survey it.
Okay.
We can do.
So, that would impact paving.
Yes, yes, in a positive way. If not this year, then next year, depending on when the money's coming.
Right.
Caleb?
Caleb's all dressed up in a suit.
Oh, well, don't let it fool you, my pants are all greasy. Wow.
So that's a form.
By the skin of our teeth? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I haven't heard from Matt, he always tells us.
He's usually
I
over.
can go upstairs and check, but there was nothing on the email as of the time I left.
Yeah.
Something may have happened.
Give a couple more minutes, see if Matt shows up. If he doesn't, we'll get moving on this.
Hopefully he doesn't have a flu. It's like whole offices.
Mhm.
You know about it,
I
don't
don't have the flu, but I got
you? Bad
a deep chest cold. I've been lucky. I've been sick 301 and right up until now. So I've been up the last couple of days.
cold. I was gonna say that was a reason.
Oh, yeah.
You need to stay away from the dentist.
All right, well, we'll get started and hopefully that'll be it. Welcome everyone to the Tuesday, March 19, 2019 Pittsfield Town Council meeting. I ask that you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. For the ones that have not been here, what we did in the last meeting worked out pretty well is when we talked about a resolution, we did a motion, seconded it, the council discussed it, and then we put it to the audience for questions after the council discussed it. It seemed to move things along a little bit quicker, so we'll be doing that again tonight as well. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is presentations, congratulations, and introductions.
After the minutes.
After the minutes. So the first we'll do the adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting, and then jump right into presentations so we can shorten the meeting up as well as we can. So I'll look for a motion from the council on the adoption of the minutes of April 5th, March 5th, 2019. I'm hurrying up for spring.
Move we accept the minutes of March 5th, 2019 as written.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments concerning the adoption of the minutes of March 5th? Nothing? No questions. Okay, not hearing any, I sense you ready to vote. All those in favor of the adoption of the regular minutes held on March 5th, 2019, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that passes. As written. Next is presentations, congratulations, and introductions.
Yes, under presentations, congratulations, and introductions, we have first the community and economic development activities and events. And we have a great event that's being put together by the Maine Central Institute students in the Jobs for Maine's Graduates program, JMG. This is the Pittsfield Community Cleanup Day that will take place all across the town on Monday, April 22nd, 2019, from 8 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m., with the times dependent upon the number of volunteers that are recruited. And April 22nd, as we know, is Earth Day. So this is a great activity for that day and a good community development project. And then other activities that we have at this point are the 47th Central Maine Egg Festival, scheduled for Monday, July 8th, 2019 through Saturday, July 13th, 2019. And of course, we usually hear about the different activities that are taking place for community and economic development under the council reports for Bicentennial Committee. So there are many, many, many activities scheduled. And so we do have the 4th annual Maine Cheese Festival coming up. And so we'll put that on the schedule for the future, which is on September 8th, 2019. So that will be great too. So for new businesses that we have, we've advertised these before and promoted them, but we'd like to do it in a few more meetings. We have Nitro Trailers and their very large manufacturing warehousing facility, also called Innovative Specialties LLC, located off Business Court. Central Maine Motors on Main Street. We have Graceland Photography on Estella Street. And our very own Susie Morton, who's our rec director, has opened the Flower Studio at 1117 Somerset Plaza, which is great. We have Holly Zaver's Yoga Studio at Sun Drew Studio, and that is at 113 North Main Street, a building that is a former grammar school that we adore. Dental Lace's new packaging fulfillment center, and that is at the former McMahon's Auto property. So all these new businesses, plus a few potential businesses. We are still in the running for our Alzheimer's facility here in town. So there's many, many communities that property has been identified in, so we are one. We have 2 projects that are ongoing. We haven't gone to the planning board, or at least discussed at the planning board, which is mead production and selling mead on site, as well as a brewery and restaurant. Those are being looked at 113 North Lancy Street, which is the former grammar school. And I will note on our CDGB Community Development Block Grant for Main Street Sidewalk that we've been trying to be patient for the state with their road survey and design project. And so multiple contacts have taken place, and we have talked to MDOT in recent times, 3 weeks ago, and then last Friday, March 15th. We have heard again that the schedule is behind, and they are thinking it will be late spring 2019. So the survey will be completed on the road for Main Street. And the road will be in the downtown area, but it'll be a large area that will be further defined going up to near the boundary line with the next community by the hospital. And so the town has a sidewalk project in the downtown area. And so we are coordinating with the state and have talked to MDOT's project engineer again. And they've indicated that they are behind and they're very apologetic. This is typical for MDOT. There's just so much work. And so they are looking at hiring an engineering firm rather than using their own staff. So that may speed things up. So we've encouraged that and asked if there's anything we can do to help them. And at this point, there isn't. And talking with the engineering consultant, for those of you who are new to the process, I thought I would read the letter that we read into the record last year just very quickly, which we received from CES Inc., which is the town's engineering consultant that will design the Main Street project, and we'll have meetings with all the residents, interested parties, property owners once this gets started. And Chip Haskell wrote back on December 17, 2018 on the Main Street sidewalk design update, Per our conversation, which I had been discussing this with them, we are sending this email to provide an update on our understanding of the status of the project, which is the Main Street Road project and, of course, the town sidewalk project. As we discussed, much of our design work will need to be completed hand in hand with the design from the Maine Department of Transportation, which begins with their completion of survey work. Per our kickoff meeting in August, the MDOT had planned to complete the survey work in November. However, as of our discussion with the project manager at the end of November, it had not yet begun. Further, given the weather, it's not likely to be completed until next spring with a design to follow. Mr. Haskell writes and continues, while we would survey it ourselves and begin to design the sidewalk, we could do that. We need to have a firm understanding of where the MDOT intends to design the roadway, both vertically and horizontally. Our design needs to begin from the foundation, otherwise we would be guessing where to locate the sidewalk. It is almost certain that changes would have to be made once the MDOT design is underway. Unfortunately, each time we have to go back to the drawing board, it will result in additional costs for the town. Additionally, with the survey work initially planned to be completed by the MDOT, the town would incur the cost of CES completing that work early. And then, of course, MDOT would have to approve it. We understand your concern with the schedule. However, we think the town is best served by allowing the sidewalk design to follow the MDOT design. There are many variables that the MDOT needs to work through that will drive the eventual location of the sidewalk, which includes the elevation of the proposed curve, relocation of utilities, open ditch locations, right away. There's quite a few things under the sidewalk and the road on Main Street. Designing the sidewalk first really puts the cart before the horse, in my opinion. With the information from MDOT and some level of certainty with the design, we can still have a sidewalk design completed well ahead of the final MDOT design. With that all said, they'd be happy to come and discuss that with the town council if they wanted. And back in December, we had not initiated that. So in talking with our CES engineer, I asked if we can sort of piggyback. We'll each call the DOT, see how things are going every couple of weeks. And we have decided that we will ask for a meeting a little bit down the road to see if we can move this along. So that is an update regarding the Main Street sidewalk and the road project. And the citizens, so that people do know that the project has started. Citizens along Main Street, including the town of Pittsfield, just received letters in the mail to get property information, a lot of information that most of us don't have, but talks about different information on what we know underneath the ground, as well as things we would know, which is our deed book and pages, our whether we have pins or not, and a variety of other information. So there was quite a bit of information on the surveys. We received 6 because we own 6 properties along Main Street. So we filled those out as soon as we got them and sent them right back in. And we will put an item on the website and also put that in the Facebook page for people who got that, what's going on, and to send it back as soon as possible, because that will help move the project along too. And the last item that I'll mention is that we did go to a KBCOG Community Comprehensive Economic Development meeting because they were going to discuss the state bicentennial project, and we wondered how can we piggyback with that. And so that was a very interesting meeting in which we learned all about the projects that the state would be involved with and when they would start. And their whole project's going to start in July of 2019. And of course our bicentennial starts in June of 2019. So we did ask, what can we do to assist the state and, you know, perhaps be able to piggyback regarding our project. And we were told that in 2020, we could just run all the events we ran in 2019 and put them right on their calendar and help out the state and help out the town. So of course, we're not going to have 2 bicentennials, but I'm sure, yes, and the bicentennial committee didn't think that would be good either. But we certainly can piggyback, put things onto their website, and get some publicity for ourselves as well as for the state. They've got some activities in which every town, you have to purchase the flag, but it probably won't be that expensive. There'll be a bicentennial flag and we can raise it, have a little ceremony, which we can hook in with our bicentennial. And they've got a few other activities that we can participate in too. So all very interesting projects. Looks like a lot's coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next is public hearings, old business, of which there is none. So we'll go right to reports and council committees. Obviously, Howard's not here for the bicentennial, and I wasn't sure, Heather, if you had anything that you wanted to update us on with your committee, but I know we had talked last week that it might not happen, last time it might not happen. But.
We did have an ordinance meeting March 12th. It was myself, Matt, Pete, and we talked about the issue around Manson Park that was brought up at the last council meeting, about proposing changes to that as far as allowing alcohol use in the park as part of an event prior approval with the town council, and we passed that on to the town government to follow up on and create the language for that. And then we had two discussion items developing a municipal ban on pesticide application, as far as a ban with synthetic pesticides and herbicides from town land and properties. And so we had just a general discussion of that. We had two towns that we looked at their language for Rockland and South Portland, as well as a presentation from Beyond Organic Land Care. They gave a presentation to South Portland Town Council in the course of their gathering information and developing their language. So we talked a little bit about that, the effects that it would have on the town, why it may or may not be a good idea, and we talked a lot about having educational speakers come in, both from the state as well as the current licensed applicator that the Manson Park facility uses, the Maine Board Pesticide Control, MOFGA, other towns and practitioners of natural organic land care businesses. And I'm going to follow up on that to try and get some speakers to come in and have maybe a joint presentation for the planning board and for the town council, so they don't have to do it twice. And we also talked about another general discussion was division of administrative services as far as departments. There was some question as far as whether the transfer station and recycling center falls under public works. It is treated as its own department in the budget cycle, but it isn't reflected in what our town code says. So we really thought that our town code should match up with the practices of what we're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. We didn't think that would affect the fact that sometimes the town departments work together on different projects. We didn't think that would have a negative effect on the collaborative work environment for that. So we just thought that it should be changed either one way or another. Either the town recycling center and the transfer station should be moved out from underneath that and put in its own department, as well as the employees that are listed in there specifically for the center, or have it really delineate who works where and where the department falls. And I think that's something that probably need to talk to Catherine about. I just haven't had a chance to follow up on that yet. And we were going to follow up on planning board actions, but they had just met the night before and we didn't receive any information back from them, so we didn't have anything beyond that.
So I did put a package together for the ordinance committee, which is on the table in front of the members of the ordinance committee and interested counselors. So I can quickly go down through that very, very quickly.
I just didn't have a chance to look at it
yet. No, that's fine. In fact, you don't need to look at it right now. Okay. But what we have is that you've been talking about different ideas that you have. So we've created language, which you can look at your leisure or at your next meeting, which reflects what was taking place at the January 22nd and March 12th committee meetings of the ordinance committee, and things sort of got firmed up at the March 12th meeting. So the first item that's in your package, and they're in the order of the numbers on the cover sheet, is Chapter 2A, Business Licenses and Permits, Section 211 and Schedule A. So we put in the amendment for the lunch wagons and the transient sellers, so that that's clarified, so that rather than people having to wait for the next council meeting being new lunch wagons or for transient sellers for, you know, really interesting events and activities that can take place, that can be done in the office as well as other permits are. And so we had revised this business licensing and permit in Chapter 2, taking it down. It was at least less than half of what we had for permits before, but there were a few little things that people at the time were not interested in doing, and that was because they had some issues with some of the transient sellers before. But since that, there have been no issues all these years, so that's something that can be done in the town office. So we updated the schedule and the section that's relevant, as well as a few business permits are done by the town, so we put down which entity did them. Since we were already into the schedule, it's not something we would have just pulled out because it's worked for years and always been that way, but we clarified it. The next one is Chapter 6, Offenses for Miscellaneous, and that's basically the rules governing Manson Park in Article 15. So I got legal clarification on exactly how to fix this, because I wondered if we had to put it in 2A also, and we do not. So I got the exact language that we need that will clarify the events. And so it will just follow with the liquor licenses, that applications that come down from the state in accordance with state law. So that's a very easy fix for that. Number 3 is Chapter 13, Zoning Ordinance, and there were some clarifications to make it easier for home-based enterprises, home occupations, in the tiny houses. So we went through, and the code officer made those changes, as well as for tiny homes. It's very easy because MUBEC is in effect, regardless if we detail out tiny homes in the zoning ordinance or not. So there are minimum sizes for the homes on the charts tables, so we just amended those. And then there's a question in the package from the CEO on whether we want to do that in every zone or whether in certain zones we would not. So he wrote down that question. So those ones I think are clarified, with the exception of will we put the tiny homes in every district or almost every district. And then the two that need to be clarified are sewer use ordinance due to legal issues, and of course the municipal ban on pesticides that was explained by Heather. That one's a bit complicated. So we've got those ones done, and then we can look at others because we have some of the administrative code with the council committees that will be coming up, and some other items to look at. So you've got language that can move forward some items all as a block, if they're acceptable or if you want changes. And when we move them forward as a block, it saves on the advertising cost, it saves on time, it's less confusing too. Okay. More productive meeting. So thank you.
That's all I have. We don't have a another meeting scheduled yet. I'll get together with Matt.
Okay, thank you, Heather.
And Bob. I don't know what Bob's available is going to be, but he's on appointment.
Bob probably can call into these meetings. I will get him set up to do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Heather. Finance Committee.
Yes, I've been in contact with the banks and the investment facilities, and so we will get a schedule set up that will put this into a sequence as we had before that worked out really well.
The second committee, we have a meeting tentatively scheduled for April 3rd, first Wednesday. I believe it's probably going to be at 5 unless the committee decides they want to have it.
Yep, 4 or 5 o'clock, and I've heard back from some members, but not all, and so we'll pursue the phone calls that we made so we get the meeting set up. The MCI students do want to talk to us about their cleanup day and some assistance that we can provide to coordinate.
Is that going to be here?
Yes.
Okay, and let's see. And so that will be, like I said, April 3rd at 5 unless otherwise noted. And Theater Committee, Ann?
Hi, good evening. Ann Matthews, Chairman of the Theater Committee. There are a few things that I myself want to bring up, and I believe Amber has as well. First of all, I wanted to kind of point out that the theater manager has been on vacation on and off, coming in to do a few hours here and there since February 11th. And I got a text yesterday, I think it was, it said she'd be on another couple of weeks, so she just put a... So I asked who was running the theater. And apparently she does have some part-time people. I wanted you folks to know that this theater looks like it can run on part-time people. Just thought that was interesting that you might want to have that information. And also, back in January, we fashioned a very respectful letter to Mrs. Gray, who lives half the year out of town. It took 3 weeks for her, 3-ish, to respond, and her response was to Donna on about February 4th, saying that she would resign from the theater committee, and when she got done her vacation on vacation, she would be sending a formal letter. I personally sent another very respectful letter to her on March 4th, a month later, asking her to please send a letter that we have people that are anxious to help us out, that we need the extra help, and we still have not heard any response. So I'm wondering, what can the council, what can we do about this? This is a person that we have not heard anything from, except the one time from Donna, that has been away for months upon months, has never called in, as I was under the impression was going to be calling into the meetings. Is there something that we can do so we can move this forward? Because you folks have given us a very short amount of time to get this running, and we need more people.
Is there something in specific that having her seat that's really like slowing things down? Because she's, I mean, I assume you still can get help from folks and stuff, but
we can, but we don't. We're lacking votes. I mean,
so you don't have quorum then? So you can't make decisions because she's...
Sometimes we have quorum, sometimes we don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would think if we're having a problem with quorum, then that would be...
So Amber came in and spoke to me about that, and I gave her the information on what we would do. Did she give you...
We haven't had a meeting yet, and I didn't realize that...
Okay, I understand.
So I'm curious, what can we do, Catherine?
So basically, I spoke with Amber, because she went over that issue with me, which is very important. And so I think it would be helpful, one, if I had the letters that you have sent, so that I can have those for our record, which shows that we have made an effort. And I indicated I would contact her, and I have sent an email, and I have not heard back. So I will make a phone call, but I did want to give them a few days. And Amber came in last Friday.
Okay.
So what we will do is ask, because obviously she's not calling in, and it is allowable if somebody calls in, and works from their home for these non-standing committees, that they can continue as a member. But if they're not calling in, then they're not they're not doing any work. So the first step is that I will ask them, once the committee has tried to get the resignation, ask, what's going on, and can we have the resignation letter so we can move on. So that's usually the positive item, and that takes place, because this is a rare occurrence. And then if that doesn't happen, the council can decide whether they want to go through the removal process, which may or may not require an executive session, and it's just a lot of steps. And so usually it's resolved if you know.
I understand, but do
somebody
you
comes.
realize we only have weeks left before the theater is scheduled to close?
Well, the theater is not scheduled to close if you have the
If we all
funds.
continue to work, and it would be lovely to have another body, because we have been putting in quite a few volunteer hours, and,
So
this needs to be resolved.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
will-
this stuff just drags on.
Yes, and I do thank Amber for telling me about that on Friday. So, we'll go through the steps that I mentioned. I will follow up on the contact that I made and make a phone call if I don't receive anything back. And then I'll confer with the mayor as to how we're gonna proceed forward.
And
as a
so
council.
when do you presume that might all happen? Another 2 weeks, a few days?
Let's see if we can resolve it in a positive fashion, because removing somebody from a committee is a pretty serious item. You know, and I think it's unnecessary in this case. We should be able to resolve this and just get all I need is an email with a signature on it, or email, you know.
So, another week?
Well,
That you'll be contacting her?
I've
That we
already
might-
contacted her, as I said, and so I will give it a few days, which I, on Friday, talked with Amber, who filled me in on that, and so sent the email early this week, and so we need to give her a few days, and then I'll follow up with a phone call, because I do have her number.
Okay, so next week, you think this might be resolved?
It should be resolved pretty quickly here,
That would
because
be
I've never had
wonderful.
anybody not, after I've contacted them, not provide the letter.
We would love for Mrs. Gray to be part of it. We have, in our letter, asked her to, advise us when she is in town, because she is a wealth of information and has a lot of great ideas. But they're not being put to use.
Yeah, they normally come back at the end of April, but it differs every year. So I will follow up on that, as I had told Amber I would.
Okay. So I'm also curious, we proposed last time to you folks some scenarios, some solutions, I feel. And I'm wondering where we stand with all that. Are we going to go forward with any of that? How do we stand? What do we do now?
All right, so I spoke with Amber about
Yes,
that
we
too.
discussed all this at the meeting,
Yes.
for us to discuss at our meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, why don't you
I think
discuss
that the
it?
council would like to know though too.
Well, the council is the one that will decide, in the end, on your recommendations. So, as I told Amber, because we had a 2-hour meeting,
Yeah.
And went over.
We just haven't had a meeting since then.
Yes, I understand. So basically, you're gonna need to make a proposal on what you want to do, like an overall proposal, on how we're going to save the theater, basically. Because you've been working on.
A long-term.
Correct.
Which is what Howard had asked for at the last meeting, for you to start putting together a long-term solution.
I will say it's been very hard to start putting together anything. We had not received any financial reporting yet this year. That's why I wound up making the meeting with Catherine. We hadn't been reported on, we hadn't had a January report from the theater manager, nor a February report from the theater manager. We had no income or expense reporting at that time. Really hard to go forward with a plan when you're totally in the dark.
Well,
Catherine
I think
was able to provide me those numbers for us to start going over and for me to show them at our next meeting.
Well, I think what Howard is asking for is a long-term plan to keep the theater open.
Right.
And you made some presentations, but we have not had an opportunity to discuss those. But ultimately, you have to come together with a long-term plan, which doesn't, yes, you still need the financial reporting, but in the meantime, there are other parts of your plan you could be working on
And we have been.
while we get you the financial
Do you want an
information.
update
I'm
on
not
something
sure
in particular?
exactly.
What is it you want us? We've been working on cleaning the theater. We've been working on booking more acts and getting revenue coming in. We've been working on creating our own theater management reports because we had to come get the information on our own. Do you have a specific question for me? Maybe I can cover what I've been working on.
So I provided a list 2 meetings ago of all of the reports that we have issued from the town and all of the information, and frankly, there's no more information available.
I just got the stuff yesterday when I got done cleaning the theater. I haven't had a chance
You
to.
came and got some copies of
dive into it yet.
invoices, but you've had financial data. Now, I do apologize, I was out until the end of January, so then, I needed to start working on the reconciliations, which were done mid-February. And I think the date was February 18th, but I have produced massive reports, which are upstairs.
Right, but as far as the 2019 year-end data, as far as the reporting we would typically get monthly, we haven't been getting that, so I had to come to you for the information, and now I have it to go over.
Yeah,
She
and
provided it.
As soon as you asked for it, I went through and ran everything out, and we run everything we have in the computer out.
Yeah, the stuff I got is good, is what I need. Just haven't really had a chance to do anything.
Yeah, it takes a while to go through, there's a lot of information.
I just got it yesterday.
So I think that, kind of along with what Deb was saying, that we do have like a short-term plan, which is like the 4 options that you laid out at the last meeting. I think that we should make a decision on the short-term plan, because that is going to make a big impact on how far the theater can go with their funding.
Thank you.
This year,
what I'm hoping for.
As far as the budget we have, we're already way over on the numbers sheet.
Right, that's why I think it's
You know.
important that we act on one of your options to kind of extend what budgeting we do have in place for the theater for this year. And then as far as a long-term plan, that is going to come into effect maybe post-June, July, August, going past that period of time.
Because we didn't plan on paying out, 7 weeks of vacation with the extra part-time labor and stuff like that. It's really been not in the plan.
Right. So that is definitely something that I think now that you do have your January, February data, and if you're creating reports for March, then you'll have up-to-date information through March. So you'll have your first quarter in a couple weeks. You'll have completed your first quarter and have all of that information at your fingertips.
And Catherine did print me out up to date, so it is through,
I think
through
that's
just
what
the
we
other
have,
day.
wherever it went.
Yeah,
I think
so
that's
I
what we
got
got here
March,
tonight too. And that's just a matter of catching up from being away type thing.
So
But I
can
do
we
think
put
that
this
we
on
need
the
to-
agenda?
Yes.
The 4 plans for the council to discuss
All right.
and make a decision on.
Why don't we have from the committee a recommendation on which option, why, and any other information you think is helpful.
I thought we already recommended which option we recommended and why, no?
Let's put it in writing, so we've got it for the package and everything.
That way it's submitted to the council in
Yeah, so
writing.
it's submitted and clear.
So it'd just be whittled down instead of having 4 options. It would just be this is the one.
Okay.
Pick the one that you
We have
think.
voted on that, and we'll put it in writing.
Yep.
And I had another question too. Are you keeping a log of the volunteer hours that people, like when they come in and do their volunteer work, are they logging in somewhere?
No.
Because that would be a really great piece of information if you look at applying for grants later on, to be able to have that data and be able to show a historical amount of volunteer hours
Great
that people
idea.
from the
Thank you.
community are putting in. That would be really important to include with any applications.
Absolutely. And I also just wanted to put out there that we have got all the way into June, almost every weekend, something going on at the theater, whether it be a band or a play, or we've got tons of stuff coming. So
Fantastic.
yeah, it is. It's great. And the committee has done that and worked very hard. So they all need to be commended. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
So, Catherine, we can plan on having our first meeting in April, have a discussion item, and then is it going to be under an order? Because is it going to be an order or a resolution?
I think it would be a resolution, but I'll double check.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Board and committee member updates we just did. And so we'll skip it down to town manager.
Yes, very good, thank you. Just a couple items, in fact, one really nifty item, actually two nifty items. So I did want to note that, of course, the theater committee has been hard at work and some interesting items have come out of that. We were contacted by an independent film company called Cemetery Theater, which is a group of volunteer filmmakers who would like to film around town this summer. So that'll be interesting, and utilize Pittsfield as a site for their next movie, which will be a comedy. So Pittsfield, a comedy here. I don't know what the script would be, and of course that would be provided to us, but this should be very interesting. The group is supporting and promoting the Pittsfield Community Theater, and they're going to be playing an independent film called Sleep Eaters at the theater on April 20th. And they have won a Stephen King Award, so I think that gives us an idea of what type of movie that might be. We'll be receiving a proposal shortly from the film company, so this will be quite interesting. The second item, and this is really nifty, we were contacted in December by Warsaw Middle School. It's always interesting when the students work on projects. And so the 5th and 6th grade classes that were under Mrs. Saucier wanted to work on the Pittsfield Town mission statement. So I provided them information on the comprehensive plan as well as the theater mission statement, because that's the only other entity of the town that does have a mission statement. And so we provided them with a variety of information about the town, and they went onto the town website. I can only say that when you go in to talk to the students, that they are looking up things on the website, looking for questions to ask you, zap you on, see if they can, if you know all the answers to everything. And they're looking around everywhere. So in any case, Mrs. Saucier brought down the pamphlets that they came up with. And so after the meeting, anyone that would like to look at these, we have 3 pamphlets which the students have created, which are really quite nifty. And it's interesting to see what they think is important. And so we've got one that has Manson Park on the cover, and they talk about the fun things to do in Pittsfield. And so they are very interested in egg festival, hunting, and skiing at the Pinnacle. And they talk about, also it's interesting, Pittsfield has some room for improvement. They're going to map a Pittsfield from the late 1800s. And of course, this is what they're thinking. We just got these today. It says, unfortunately, Pittsfield is pushing to close the public theater due to funding issues. And then they go on about the theater, how they want to keep it open. But they really like Eastern Maine Medical Center and Northern Light being the hospital, MCI, the history of the town, specifically the library with Andrew Carnegie, Manson Park. They also have a little brochure, Pittsfield, Maine, a good place to call home, so this is really nifty. And they talk about all of our attractions, and again, they're focused on the Pinnacle, Egg Festival, MCI, SVH, which is Northern Lights, and the parks, and they talk about the history, which is, of course, interest. And their last one is Pittsfield, Maine, with our little town boundary sign when we had a contest years ago. Those signs still look pretty good. Just need a little bit of paint here. Talked about the Historical Society geography, and they talk about things we need to work on. So Steve, they got roads in here, which every town has, and then they talk about the theater. So those are the 2 things they said need to be worked on, but everything else they've got just magnificent, talking about all of the outside items, the hospitals, the schools, and very complimentary, cute little brochures. So anyone that would like those, you can look at those after the meeting, and we'll figure out how to display them for the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next is new business.
Order 19-04. Order that the town council approve amendments to the Pittsfield Community Theater ticket and concession prices on the town of Pittsfield fee schedule.
We'll look for a motion from the council.
Move read up order 19-04.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the council?
No questions?
Audience, anybody got any questions? Questions or comments from the audience concerning this order? Okay, not hearing any, I sense you ready to vote. All those in favor of order 19-04, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it.
It was very clear.
Resolution 19-26, resolved that the town council approve the issuance of a parade permit to the American Legion Post 32 for Memorial Day Parade on May 27, 2019, and waive the permit fees.
That's 19-27. You said 26.
Yeah, the original one that you got was out of order. It's supposed to be 26.
It is 26, because I got the newest one.
Yeah, I gave you
My old one said
the
the same
one with
thing.
the highlighted.
I don't know where it went, but.
That's right. It is correct.
So we're looking for a move to adopt resolution 19-26, is that where
Yes.
we're at?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the council?
We have the Colonel here this evening, but the event is always very well organized.
Any questions, councilors? Audience, I'll open it up to you. Questions or comments on this resolution?
I will comment that we are working to make that parade a more and more significant event. We think it's so important, especially for the young people, to appreciate those who've gone before them. I do have a flyover scheduled by the Air National Guard this year. They're very cooperative about that. The Marine Reserves will provide the color guard in their dress blues as always. The Maine Army National Guard over at Skowhegan is providing 2 Humvees, and then we'll have the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and the Cub Scouts and all of that. So we're looking forward to it in that way. And we always invite any ideas that anyone has to make it more significant. So if there are any questions or even any recommendations or ideas, I'm always open to them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments, audience, anything else concerning this resolution? Any comments for this gentleman there? No? Okay, not hearing any, since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-26, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that resolution passes as well.
Resolution 19-27, resolved that the town council appoint members to fill the vacancies on various town boards and committees.
Promotion.
Move to adopt resolution 19-27.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments, councilors? Names are all right there. We're very familiar with every one of these individuals.
Good people.
All around town, good people. Any questions, councilors? Give me a second to look it over. Okay, audience. Anyone in the audience wish to comment? Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, if you would please, Mike Chinquette here at Pittsfield, could you provide some details to the uneducated back here as to the positions and the persons that you
Sure.
to which you refer?
Sure.
Thank you.
Just one question. B, before you do that, this is all posted now, right?
It's on the website.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure, maybe you don't know, but our whole council package is now posted on the website too.
It's much easier for me to come bug you guys.
No problem. We like that you come and bug us, but I just want to make sure you do that too.
I'll look on my data.
It's a heck of a lot more fun when you come in here and bug us.
I think the same thing, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
We have on the Board of Appeals, we have Mike Brayley wants to renew his. Board of Ethics, Mike Brayley has put in for that, and Stan Short. Both good quality, good candidates. Stanley has put in for the Personnel Appeals Board as well. And Jim Chinquette has put in for the Pinnacle Park Board, who would be an excellent candidate. And every one of these people are very well known around town. I think they all do an outstanding job, personally.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Any other comments, audience, questions concerning this resolution? I personally think that that's a very, very good list.
Do we have any other open boards or committees now, or is this full of everything else?
We do,
I didn't hear that.
So I asked if we had any other open seats on boards or committees, or if this filled the docket for the standing committee.
There are a few left, and so we'll issue a list of what those are. We had some trouble reaching some of the people, but once they got back from vacations and everything, they renewed their terms.
Okay.
So we wanted to give everybody an opportunity who had been on before to make sure that they did not want to be on again if they had to reach them.
Okay, any other questions?
So on the Board of Ethics, they need two, or are we choosing one?
They need,
They need more.
yeah, they need more, so we'll be
Okay.
choosing two.
Yeah, we'll do a list now that we've got everybody to renew, that wants to renew, and then the new ones. We'll do a list of all the open ones, and then you'll see where we need people. And
Okay.
it is hard sometimes to get people on boards that haven't met for, a long time, because there's no issue.
I was on the appeals board for 3 years and we only met once.
Yeah, that is correct. We try to make people happy and, make it work.
Any other questions, counselors? Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Sure.
So where do you find the counselor's package? Because I looked this time and I found the agenda, but I didn't find the package this time.
If you look on the calendar, you click on the town council meeting on the date, and it will open up, and the link is right there.
On the calendar. Okay.
Any other questions, folks?
It's a good question.
Yes,
It's hard to find stuff.
it is. Not hearing any, since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-27, those names provided, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, resolution passes. Jim, congratulations for being on the Pinnacle Park Board.
Thank you.
Next is discussion items.
All right, very good. You have 3 different areas for discussion. First on financial records for January 31st, 2019 that were completed on 2/18/2019. And so we go over a few of the most basic, most important items. So for all of the budgetary and financial reports, the budget expenditure report is very important. So at the end of January, we were through 8.33% of the period and had expended of the municipal budget 7.9%, and of the municipal water and sewer 7.7%. For the revenue collection report, we were again through 8.33% of the period, and the figures are usually low for the first few months, but not normally this low. 2.5% of the municipal revenues have been received. Now, we don't have to receive 8.3% each time. Sometimes we're over, but 2.5 is low. And we receive 3.4% of municipal water and sewer. For excise tax collections, and in the years, the fleets and the trucks and the large amounts of vehicles that come in from a variety of companies can come in December or January. And so if they come in December and usually are scheduled for January, then you have excess excise tax in one year and less in the next year, and then vice versa. So at this point, excise tax collections are down and $16,822.44 behind 2018 collections at this time of the year. However, in 2018 was huge at the end of the year. State revenue sharing. Our check for January is still being searched out for the state. We did not receive one, but did receive a check for February. So that would mean that we are behind on 2018 collections, obviously, in 2017, by approximately $21,152. So we are owed a check for January. They're still working on that issue. For February, we were through 16.7% of the period, and for the budget expenditure report, again, one of the most important reports, we had 14.9% of the municipal budget had been expended, and 14% of municipal water and sewer had been expended. For the revenue collections, we were again through 16.7% of the period, and 7.6% of the municipal revenues had been collected, 7.2% of municipal water and sewer. And the revenue collections for February and March would be low for water and sewer simply because the meter reader broke after 10 years. And so usually the readers are guaranteed for about 5 years, so we get a lot of use out of ours. And the new one is on order, should be here shortly, and then we'll get caught up on the bills. all individuals that did not receive a bill did get a letter sent out so they would know what was going on. For excise tax collections for this period, we had $21,807 behind the 2018 collections at this time of the year. And state revenue sharing, because we still, at the end of February, didn't have our January payment, are $19,930.83 behind the 2018 collections. And then the state revenue sharing will catch up when the January check is received. And so those are the financial reports, and all reports are in there except for a couple of them. And then going on to regular discussion items, we have the water system update. And I had notified the councils that we had a pressure issue that had showed up in approximately 4 houses in different sections of town. So that was interesting. So we did some research on that, including having an electrician calling Central Maine Power just to find out if there were any issues regarding the fluctuations and the rates or how the electricity was coming. Also contacted the company that does our well rehabilitation, and it did authorize early on that we would contact all of our associates and have them go over the whole thing anyway, because water pressure is important. And so Scott Noble, our assistant water sewer superintendent, has given us a brief report indicating the water pressure issue has been resolved. They found that the PLC, which is the operational brain at the water plant, was having some sort of technical issue in trying to keep pace with the raw water pump in the well. So that was causing the finished water pump to ramp up and down significantly. Results Engineering, which is the company that works on the SCADA system, which is the recording system for what's going on with the use of the water, they were able to adjust the PLC on the operational brain to take the variance out of the finished water pump. When Scott met with Annalise from Oliver Associates about the well not producing a consistent water flow at times, the well was found to actually be recharging remarkably well. In fact, it's recharging almost instantly, which is a good thing. Annalise talked with Haggerty Plumbing, which is our well rehab contractor for a number of years and very experienced in well rehab and very backed up on work to get it here. Frank noted that in October that the well pump appeared to have some wearing, but he didn't think it was much of an issue when they replaced the motor. If it had been a serious concern, he would have replaced the pump as well as the motor. However, there is some wearing there, and that should be looked at. So Annalise from Oliver is working with Haggerty on the best options for the town. So they need to be able to resolve it. Right now it's not happening, but it could happen again. And if it does happen when we're producing much more water during the summer, because we have a lot more clients, then that could be an issue. So there will have to be some work done with the wells, and we will find out exactly what it will be once they finish their review. And Annalise is very experienced with wells and indicated that Baileyville is having the exact same issue now. So that will be looked at. I thought that was important to report on. Number 2 is the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation peak request for proposals for video production services to promote the town. So we sent those out to everybody. Didn't receive any requested changes. So that went out to quite a few production companies. And so if anyone would like a copy of the final RFP that we issued, just let me know. So we'll be anxiously awaiting the results. So the schedule, if that schedule works, and the companies have enough time, and that they state that they do, from the 2 that we talked to, then we should have the video, if all goes well, in time for the bicentennial, which is how it was planned out. Number 3, our town buildings submitted for the free energy audit opportunity. So energy audits can be quite expensive. Sometimes you can get a free one. We got a free one from InSource Renewables a number of years ago, which was very much appreciated. But for our buildings, we have submitted all of the buildings to the Kennebec Valley Council of Governments for the grant that they received from the Department of Economic and Community Development, which gives them all of the background information on energy usage, which luckily we keep charts on. Didn't have to compile all that. We submitted the theater, library, public works garage, municipal building, police station, fire station, and other buildings. And so those were acknowledged, and we're told that we will hear more shortly as they organize all of that. We also had submitted the town buildings that have, of course, the interior lights to see if we would be eligible for a special grant program from Efficiency Maine that's for LED lights for interior. So it would be our lights here, which are very bright here. So those would save energy after a period of time. And so that is a grant in which we would pay 25% of the cost for the eligible buildings, and 75% would be the grant, so that's a great deal. So we will hear more about that in the future. Number 4 is library and other departments for a forum or presentation on being civil and working together. And so this is a great topic. Our librarian has been working on this extensively and met with a number of people on it, and we'll be meeting with the consultant next week. And Michael and I will be going to a training that is focused on this for towns. So that has just come up, so that will be very interesting. And then number 5 is the legislative bulletin from Maine Municipal Association, the state news updates. And so these have been in your FYI folder, but we're trying to cut down on all the paper and everything. And I wonder, would you like these legislative bulletins? Are you all getting them from MMA? Because I know sometimes some people do and some don't. And do you want the town to keep the FYI folder going? Do you want to put them in the discussion issues, have them sent to you by email, or you don't want them?
I just send them email. I mean, I get stuff from Scott and them all the
I have no
time.
problem with that.
Okay, so email probably?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think email's fine.
Okay.
Having one copy in the FYI folder is better than having 7 of them to
Right.
for the.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they need to be part of our packet.
No, that's just there so they brought it to focus.
Right.
But no, we hadn't put them in there before, and they
Yeah.
don't want to.
Because every one of them, I get emails from every one of them, so.
All right, so are you all set, so you do not need them?
No, I get them now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Scott usually sends me one, and then
Do you
I usually get them
them
from,
the new senator?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you do have them?
Yeah.
Are you getting them?
I am not, and I
Okay.
would like to.
Okay, all right. Sheila?
Yep.
All right, so you're all set, you
Yep.
already get them. And Heather's getting them?
I get some of them. I haven't received the Brad Farron one, but I see Scott's stuff off and on, and I get all the stuff from. I get a lot of email from the MMA.
All right,
like
we'll check
daily,
on- we'll check
sometimes
on
multiple
that.
ones a day. They also send out the magazine and a weekly bulletin, so I think we're
Okay.
pretty well apprised of what the MMA is.
All right, good. So what this has pointed out is that Deb needs to get these by email. Okay. All right, that is excellent. And I only put those in there to bring a focus on that to see how we want to handle them. Because if we can eliminate the FYI folder, that's pretty much all that was in there.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be all the letters that we got, but you don't get letters hardly anymore. Just bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next is reports. Audience. Anyone in the audience wish to comment this evening? Yes, sir.
I do have 2 things. Informational first that I think the town, I just want you to know about it. And on the day of the Memorial Day Parade, I have begun to arrange with each of the military services to have a recruiter in the Pop On Over Cafe there, to be there all day. And I think it'll be an opportunity for young people to maybe pick up a brochure, maybe somebody actually sign up and enlist. But I'll have the National Guard and the Marines and the Army and the Navy, and try to have all of them. So it's kind of a work in progress, but it looks like it's going to happen. The other thing occurred to me after we talked about the theater. My first information was that it was going to be closed and out of business by July. I have used it customarily on the last week of July for the national conference that I always hold at MCI, most notably General John Kelly attended in 2016. But is it possible at all that I could use it again on the 28th of July?
We would love that.
It is very possible.
So, okay, I'll keep that alive and let's just plan, I'll try to contact all the right people, because again, I don't even know if the town is aware that I have this national conference
Yes.
every year, and it's getting more and more significant,
No,
so.
it's very good. I think you'll be all set.
Now, do you have any kind of historic footage or anything that you would be interested in showing in conjunction with the Memorial Day parade that afternoon at the theater or anything like that?
I'm sure I will.
But if you had something like that, like for after the parade, if we had something going
Yeah.
on in there that.
I think it's a great
or
idea.
something,
I would
just to get
love
people
to.
in.
All right, let me see what I can put together on that.
I'll sell them all a popcorn.
I think you and I maybe need to talk about it a little more.
Yes.
Maybe even when this meeting adjourns tonight for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we'll get out in time.
Yeah, I'm big on that kind of thing. I love to do it.
Yeah, I think the more we can get people coming for
Yep,
community.
I'm with you. And that picture of Dwight Eisenhower out in the, well, whatever happened to the great big blow up?
I prefer the one where my great-grandparents are hanging out the top window of Dysart's.
Yeah, well, all
easier
those
one,
things.
but I'm a little
But I
partial.
love that one. I mean, Ike was kind of my president, he was president when I went to the academy,
I like the picture from Dysart's.
All right, this sounds all good.
Okay, thank you. Jim, did you have your hand up?
Yes, Jim Sincat, I'm from the Pinnacle Park Advisory Committee, as you know. I wanted to go back and talk about the theater again. I was on the theater committee 6, 7, 8 years ago, I forget what I was. During that period, I think I'm pretty sure that the deficit the end of the year was around 22,000. Let's move ahead 6 or 7 years now to present day. I think the deficit was 70 something thousand dollars. So, in my way of thinking, we as a committee, I think that they deserve to know where that money is, where it's leaking. Where is all the money going? How can we fix it? How can they make an educated decision on fixing that if they don't know where the holes were and where all that money is gone at each year? So I would like to see, and I'm not surprised that someone has not already mentioned that actually auditing the theater and see where all this money goes, so we can make, and the whole town can make educated guesses as to how to correct that situation and move forward and keep that theater open, which is what many volunteers have been working many hours to help keep that open. So as I understand, and the Colonel mentioned it as well, I believe the end of June, the funding from the town is going to end. Does everybody agree with that?
No.
Well, we ran out of
That
money.
originally was the discussion, and it ended up that you had a certain amount of money, and however long that lasted you.
Okay, all right.
It isn't gonna last as long as we projected because
Right. Because of
we're
the,
paying vacation and replacing the staff.
So,
All right, so the town is audited every year and has received an excellent audit. We can go down through the budget with you. I can go down through the budget with any committee members, and you can figure out pretty quickly where the money is being spent. In the
Okay.
budget reports. It's
so the
very-
theater books are audited every year?
Yes.
Oh, terrific.
All
Everything's
departments,
Yep.
audited every
everything.
year.
Okay, well, good, that's great.
Very thoroughly too. They bring all the new students and they just dig in here.
Yep.
So I can go down through the budgets. The only issue we run into is that I'm limited on my time because I can only work a certain amount each day.
Right.
Or it doesn't work out well. So if I can meet with one of the committee members or whoever could come in during the day, if that was possible, I can go down through. I've got all the reports upstairs. They have all the reports, and I can just summarize it for you. It's very clear. you know, the money's getting sucked up by the shoveling of the roof by a company that has insurance, you know,
Yep,
personnel costs, it's very clear.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, terrific.
Very clear.
Good. So I'm not on the committee, but I'm sure that they would love to have that information, so.
We'd love to
Great.
have you on the committee as soon as the seat opens as well.
So in any case,
Stuff going on here.
they do have all.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, they do have all the reports. In fact, they probably have too much information, and so I can summarize it.
Okay, very good, thank you.
We should get together with what I got.
All right, thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Yep.
Mike?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Michael Chinquette. I'd like to start by thanking the Colonel coming here. I haven't met you personally. I wish I had. You represent the American Legion well. You represent the military very well, and I thank you very much for your service. I'm honored to have you here. And, you know, my brother and my father, sister, brother-in-law, you know, nieces and nephews in my extended family all have served. And, you know, so I've always had a soft spot for the military. Keep the American flag in my yard. It's only 20 feet. I want to go 30 or 40, you know. So I've always been the red, white, and blue. So thank you very much, Colonel. It's an honor to have you here, sir. The other thing, I hear that Council Stackhouse is in, still having issues there. So if anyone has a chance to talk to him, please give him my best personally. I understand he's still having issues there, and you don't need to discuss it here. It'd be up to him to do that, but please let him know that he is being thought of and he is missed. So the other thing I wanted to mention with the theater committee, 9 years been on the council and haven't seen such a groundswell of support for the theater, so thank you all for putting in the time that you're doing for the theater. Unfortunately, the reason why we have to do it is, you know, apparently a fact of life these days, given the condition of the building and, you know, the economy just hasn't rebounded here. 2008 still is hitting us, unfortunately. So thank you all for the time you're doing. And the groundswell that you're generating and the momentum you're generating, please keep it up. You know, thank you. I know it's a thankless job. You've noticed it, haven't you?
We'll line you up some volunteers.
Yeah, I can't hear you. I'm going through a tunnel. I'm busy. I'm working now. I'm traveling. But I appreciate your thoughts. Very nice of you to share. So the other question I had, and I don't want to discuss it here, but it's something that concerns me. It has to do with vacation time. I heard in the conversations that the theater director has 7 weeks vacation, has been out extended vacation time. Correct me if I'm wrong. I say I don't want to get in discussion here. I just want to put out their thoughts. I know we've had this discussion over the last year and a half when I was on the other side of the wall here, that there's a certain amount of time, vacation time, that can be carried across. Other departments, such as the highway department, I'll pick on that because I see Mr. Vance here. No, I'm not going to pick on it. I'm just going to use that as an example because, you know, every hour of every day of the week, sometimes they have to do what they have to do. So it's understanding the comp time, overtime, you know, budgets being constricted. That I understand, but, you know, 7 weeks vacation, if that's true, then there's something wrong with the system. Significantly wrong with the system. I know we've all talked about it before. It's, you know, a sticky wicket have to deal with, but it's got to be addressed. Because when we're obviously getting hit on the budget on the theater, which is very limited by having to pay for this time and not having the output on it, and having to pay for people to come cover for the persons directed to do that, that's not the intention of the system. So it needs to be looked at again, please. One last thing, it's another issue I noticed. 27 years I've been living in the place I am, right across from the basketball court, and the first time in 27 years it was decided to use a very expensive piece of highway equipment to clear off the basketball court. You know, I can't, you know, I talked with Mr. Vance about it, and I'm not pointing fingers, and please, Steve, with all due respect, I'm not digging at you, but there should be a wiser way of using that type of equipment. there should be a better way to deal with this, especially when there's a lot of other things that need to be done. I don't want to get into that discussion now because I want to get home before 10 o'clock. But to have a very expensive piece of equipment to clear off a basketball court, that's
What is it?
that's ludicrous.
Can you tell us what the expensive piece of equipment is?
It's a sidewalk snow blower, the new
Okay.
one,
All right, yeah.
It's a mini loader.
the mini loader.
Okay.
Correct. That is utilized
Yep.
to blow sidewalks.
Yep.
Also used to broom, bucket, whatever.
Yep,
It's
understood,
used-
but
It can be used year round.
27 years, never been touched on basketball court. I saw no reason why you'd have to spend 2 hours and put wear and tear on that machine. And if that machine had broken down doing that, would that come out of the rec department? Would that come out of the highway department? I don't, like I say, I don't want to get into discussion here because we're not going to gain any ground. Food for thought. We need to be a little bit more efficient on how we use our equipment. The budget process this last time was painful. Actually, every budget process has been painful. No one can ever say I had fun doing a budget. Those words never go together. So just something we need to think about. We need to be a little bit more efficient.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
One more thing, and I'm going to make it a habit. Thank you all for the time you put in. Heather, your reports are always spot on, and I do learn something every time. And I appreciate you having them there, and to have the time that you all put in. I know there's a great deal of effort. I know there's a lot of work involved, and it's a very thankless job. So thank you all for the time you put in. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody else in the audience wish to speak this evening? Mr. Vance.
So let's talk about vacation. Okay. So, my specific thing is gonna be about comp time, and then we'll talk about vacation. But when you do get into budget constraints, and your approach to find a way to meet year-end budget because you're running tight, so you ask employees to work comp time, or take comp time in lieu of pay. So you can't force an employee to do that. He can make you pay.
Correct.
So you have a few employees that will work with you and try to help you meet year-end budget. Okay. Me being specific, I have 250 something hours of comp time right now. I also have 3 weeks paid vacation coming to me. It makes no sense to carry comp time year to year to year, or let it accumulate. Okay, so if I go at the present rate, I'm going 4 years' time, I have 1,000 hours comp time that I do not use. I get done, what are you gonna do? You're gonna pay me. What does that do? That busts the budget. That's what happened year one, me coming in, the budget got busted. I had no budget to work with the day I started because of that kind of policy. Because bottom line is, if you want to really straighten it out, budget what it's going to take, which we try to get straightened around. I'm trying to get it straightened around over the last 3 years to budget real. And if you don't use it, don't use it. Turn it back in. Somebody's going to run over budget. But the way it works for me right now, I have to try to do the comp time thing with the labor to try to, at the year end, because I can't plan so many things. I can't plan the weather. I can't plan when the water main is going to break, and I have to assist them. All those things. So at the year end, when you start running tight, you try to make adjustments. So I will not carry my time year to year, and I will not have my crew carry their time year to year. So if you owe me 7 weeks, I'm taking 7 weeks, okay? I'll be balanced at the end of the year to start another routine. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
I know up at where I used to work, they tried that, with comp time. They said, listen, you either use it by the end of the year or you're going to lose it. Well, then nobody would use it because they were afraid they were going to lose it. So they eventually had them carry it over again, because they tried to stop the carrying over. But that's, of course, that's the state, and that's a different entity altogether. But it's a never-ending battle, I know.
Well, if you
Well,
keep
and
carrying it, eventually you gotta pay for it.
You gotta pay them eventually. You either pay them then, or you pay them
It
later.
doesn't work out well.
Exactly, exactly.
You either pay them then, or you pay them
The
later.
lawyer
So,
and
if you
these-
kill me in the winter,
Yeah.
don't try to kill me in the summer too.
Either way you look at it, you gotta get your time off either through that or through the other way, but you gotta get it off anyway, because you gotta pay them.
I'll get it off one way or the other, it don't matter.
Well, the
to me.
last meeting in
I'm just telling you, I'm
December,
not gonna operate that way.
the last meeting in December, the attorney was here to discuss, that was part of her discussion, was overtime, that comp time could be offered at time and a half,
Well, it's a
or
time and a half
paid.
rate, yeah.
or get paid. And if the employee wants to be paid, the employee has to be paid.
Correct, and that's the way we operate.
That's the state law.
And that's what happened up there, it's the same exact thing.
And so, if you have to do the work and you're putting in the overtime, but we don't have the money to cover it, we have no choice but to offer comp time.
Well, I mean, it's
But to take it away
a tool
means-
that you can use and that we have used in the past. The misuse of it is asking somebody to do that and then not balancing it throughout the year. The misuse is letting it accumulate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. A guy ends up with 2,000 hours comp time maybe someday, and then he retires.
But you can't just get rid of it, because that's their overtime
You
pay,
can't,
right?
you gotta pay it. You
Right.
can't
You
get
got
rid of it.
one
Yeah.
way or
So,
another, it's
The
got to
guy
be
comes in
paid.
has a busted budget.
What happened, at least what happened when I was, is they wound up capping it. You either, you have to use it, which they didn't like that either, but I think it was 320 hours was what they were allowed to keep, and then after that, they had to pay you.
My guys have accrued vacation time. They have accrued comp time, some of them, only a couple of us. The others want to be paid. But still, they're accruing vacation time because there's a certain amount of work content there. I'm gonna reduce that vacation time one way or the other, okay? We're gonna use our comp time one way or the other. That's the only way you can balance it at year by year.
Like I said, with us, they give us 320 hours. After that, you're automatically gonna get paid if you work it, because you can't accumulate any more than that, because they had to cap it, because like you said, people had 3,000 hours. You know, that's how it wound up getting resolved in the end. This was a big battle that went on for years. And I know that's a totally different agency, and the state's different than the town budgets and all that, but it's the same sort of argument that so I know where you're coming from.
Well, just a aside, vacation time, comp time, 2 years in a row, my husband had surgeries on his legs. And if it hadn't been for the comp time, he would have been in trouble. The first year, he missed 18 weeks of work when he was still at the transfer station, and he didn't get paid overtime. He was always forced to take comp time. So, I mean, comp time comes in handy for those types of issues too. So the employee has to be paid one way or another.
Correct.
You cannot eliminate, you can stop giving comp time and forcing people to be paid.
Yes, you can. But you better budget for it.
This is true. So it's not a situation that's going to be easily resolved.
No, I mean, it works. I'm just saying, you need to balance the books at year end regardless. I mean, so if you're heavy, like this winter is a killer. So if you're heavy with your time.
Tell me about it.
Okay. And then you gotta make it up somewhere to make budget work at year end. Either that or you gotta budget an exorbitant amount. Okay, and just pay it all out. So you pay one way or the other. It works the way it is, but don't ask a guy to get comp time to balance the budget and then not get paid to use it or get paid for it. Well, he's gonna get paid for it anyway. Either bust the budget or whatever. But
So it's kind of being caught between a rock and a hard place.
I'm just gonna speak my mind on it, and that's the way it is.
Anything else, Steve?
Nope.
Ron, you have your hand up?
I did, sir, yes. Ron Watson, 175 Main. So, I don't really have much today. I'm just talking about the Historical Society. You'll get a break. First thing that I want to let everybody know is that work has officially started. Might not look like it on the outside, but the ceiling on the inside is slowly being lifted up and secured in place so that when we do the clapboards on the outside, the whole building doesn't fall down. We thought that might be important. And then once the snow melts, we're going to start seeing a lot of stuff happening over there. So if you're ever curious, please don't go and interrupt the work or get in the middle of it. But if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it for hours on end. Second thing, and I'm not going to tell you any details now, this is a teaser trailer only. But we've identified the first exhibit that we're going to put in there after we reopen in June. And I'm very excited about it. I'm working with a couple community members to put something together. So if anybody is interested in learning how to build a museum exhibit, please reach out to me, and we will be more than happy to utilize your talents. Two new positions, well, one new position and one old position that we're going to be refilling. So we are going to be looking for a new secretary for our board of directors, our board of trustees, excuse me, starting in second quarter of this year. So if anybody has any skills or is interested in contributing, the secretary's position, as any secretary will tell you, is the most important position as far as the operation of the organization. Without them, we don't have any records, we don't have any information, and so somebody who's really dedicated and organized would be very much appreciated if anybody has anybody. Secondly, we are going to be bringing on a membership coordinator. This is a purely voluntary position, and we would be more than happy to pay you in public praise, possibly some cookies at some point, or some lots and lots and lots of coffee. But anybody who's interested in being a membership coordinator, really starting to reach out to the community, form some good solid relationships, and make the Historical Society a bigger presence in the community, please reach out to me, and we'll be more than happy to put you to work. What kind of cookies? Any kind of cookies. That's perfect. Thank you all for your time and attention.
Thank you, Ron. Anybody else in the audience? No? Okay, so I'll go to reports. I'll start with Heather.
Okay. Cough my way through this. Okay, so looking through and we just got these reports tonight, but I'm seeing some things missing. One of them is the theater reports for January and February. And also the police reports for January and February are missing.
Yes, neither of those have been received.
Okay. With continuing on the theater, it's great to hear about your organization. I remember seeing the ad in the paper for it last year. To have the theater being used in that way, I think that's what people envision when we're talking about the community theater, bringing the community into the theater. So that's great to know that that's a possibility for this year to have an organization come again. Catherine, you had mentioned the Peak Video RFP, and I had comments on it, and I just missed. There's other things going on that day, and I did not get them to you. But one of the questions I had was on that RFP plus anything else that's put in for documents to be submitted to the town. The only option is to do it by snail mail. Is there any particular reason why we can't have things be submitted by email? I mean, I know there's like a time that it needs to be put in, but you can have a timestamp on an email as well as a particular day through the postage.
All right, all of our requests for proposals or for bids are always in secure envelopes so that they can be read by somebody else, so they're all opened at the same time.
Yeah.
So we don't use email for that because it technically doesn't work.
There isn't a way to have them. I'm just thinking, you know, we're looking at 2020 coming up, and everything is done by email. It seems a little outdated to only accept things put through the post. to be able to have
For requests
companies
for
submit
proposals
things.
and for bids, that is how it's done at this point. I'm sure that there's something will be figured out in the future, but right now, this is how the state and federal government, other towns do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'd like to submit the name of a company called Pica. They're in Belfast. They actually did some work for the town of Belfast and the Chamber of Commerce in that area. They produced their entire magazine booklet, and it's beautiful. And they do print and video advertising as well as other forms of advertising. So Rob, I can't remember his last name. Rob Dietz, D-I-E-T-Z, is the principal at the company.
Thank you.
And they would be a great one to submit that to. One of the things that I was going to come on was my concern that the video was going to be completely produced by the middle of May, and that, you know, the grass is just starting to come up, the trees aren't even leaved out, you know, there might still be mud everywhere. We might have snowbanks still, you never know. But I was a little concerned about the timeline. I understand trying to get it put together for the bicentennial and be able to have that to utilize for promotions and everything, but I was a little concerned about the very quick time frame of it, and that it wouldn't be able to capture like Pittsfield through the seasons or anything like that, that it was a very short window that the shooting was going to happen in.
So I did add a section about a cost for additional
Continuing.
work, so we
Yeah.
could do other things too. We'll just have to see, and that might be one of the items that the companies that we interview will mention too.
Right, okay. And you had mentioned this, I was just jotting down questions. When the town audit is done, they look at every particular department as far as they go through the records and the revenues and expenses
Yeah,
for
they go
each
through
department?
expenses, the revenues, they pull the bills, they go to the
Okay.
source documents, it's quite extensive.
Okay, so it's pretty thorough then.
Yes.
It's
one of the companies, one of the several that is thorough. There are other companies out there that could cost less, but they're just not thorough.
Okay. As far as road conditions, I received a complaint about Sibley Pond Road and forwarded that to you as well as Steve Vance. And within a day or so, we received a reply and passed that on, and they were delighted that somebody went right out and started looking at it and did some work on it. So they were pretty relieved. They said it looks good now, but it might thaw again. So, but it's just the nature of the beast of having a dirt road, and I live with that reality. So, and I'm sure that they, having lived out there for a period of time, everybody on that road probably knows what it's like for a certain number of weeks in the spring. So, but they were appreciative that someone went right out and took attention to that. So thank you. March 28th is our next Media and Communications Committee meeting, 6 p.m. here in the chambers. We welcome anybody else to come. There's a variety of things we're going to talk about. I can't remember what they all are at the moment, but I'll try and get an agenda. What is today, 19th? I'll try and get an agenda in the next couple of days to Mike so that he can get it posted on the website to have that up. I have a list going. And I don't know how much longer Bob will be out or unavailable for committee meetings or anything, but if we're looking at having finance committee meetings and ordinance committee meetings, it would be really helpful if we could maybe suspend his appointment to that committee and have a stand-in person until he's able and ready to come back and resume committee duties. Just because, you know, Matt and I, we had a 2-person meeting the other day. So, yeah, it's like, do you agree with that? Yeah, I agree with that. You agree with that? So it's kind of, it'd be nice to have a third person on there. So I don't know if we could do that.
I did look
Mr.
at that,
Mayor.
and I can't figure out how to do it under the ordinance, so I'll think about it a bit more. But I frankly don't see why he, well, at least to get the information and his input. I don't think he can vote because it still is a council committee.
I've been sending him all the information and everything,
Right.
but I haven't had any.
Yeah, in the past when we had some of the committees, we just bring my cell phone down and I call them, and then they talk back and forth, and it
Mhm.
works really well. I don't see why we can't do that with Bob.
Okay,
or
we
somebody's
can give
cell
that
phone.
a try at our next committees, I guess, but yeah, so just if we're gonna have finance committee meetings coming up, then we need to have.
And he does like those too.
Yeah, we just need to have members there. And then, I'm gonna say my two piece about comp time. I really don't like the whole idea of comp time. I think that people should have their vacation time, and then if they're working an hour, if they're working overtime, pay them the overtime at the time and not carry this comp time forward. It puts the town in a really difficult position when everybody on the highway department accrues a lot of comp time through the winter. Everybody wants to take it in the summer. What's getting done on the roads in the summer if everybody's using their comp time and their vacation time? So it puts us definitely in a difficult position of having adequately staffed departments when there's so much comp time being accumulated. And also, I'd rather see an adequately staffed department that doesn't rely on having so much comp time, to have an actual staff person on the department. And I know, Steve, you said you don't want a fat budget, you don't want to have those extra people available, but there's always work that needs to be done, whether in the summer or in the winter. And it sounds like, I mean, I did it out, if you have 4 people carrying 250 hours of comp
Well,
time
4
each.
people don't. 2 choose to get paid out.
Well, just look at it as the total hours that are being paid in comp time, whether they're being paid or taking it as comp time or paying it eventually. That's $18,000 a year. That's like a part-time person. So we really need to look at the staffing for your department and making sure that it's adequately staffed, because it's a lot less expensive to have an employee paid the regular rate than to pay everybody time and a half for all these extra hours. That's what busts the budget, when you're paying time and a half
Well, when
for
you
the work
add
to be
benefits
done.
too, though, of adding another person, not necessarily.
This is true.
Okay.
This is true.
So-
But you also have them at your disposal. So I know as an employee, you're like, no, I like my
Well,
comp
like,
time.
no, I'm
but
not saying I like my comp time at all. What I'm saying is you can't have your cake and eat it too. You're either gonna pay it, like you say.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We need to pay the comp time, but we also need to build a budget and adequately staff the department so we don't have
So if I
accumulated
submit a
comp
budget
time.
with a certain overtime figure, and that gets cut, okay, and you're gonna meet budget at the end of the year, and you can't control what happens during the winter.
Mhm.
The way
You're
we
right back
operate
in that.
now, okay, I'm not arguing with you, the way we operate now, don't ask to have your cake and eat it too.
No, I'm saying that the way we're operating now isn't right. We
I'm
shouldn't
saying it
be
don't
adding all
work.
this comp time
But
in.
the only way it works is if you balance the books each year. You don't,
Exactly.
you can't keep accruing it.
Exactly, that's what
Okay.
I'm saying. We need to be
Alright.
paying out the comp time when it's used. If somebody has overtime pay, they get paid their overtime pay.
Either
It
way.
doesn't get carried through.
Either way.
So, I
Okay.
mean, it's a
Alright.
liability one way or another, and it needs to be paid and taken care of. and I
So
just
we've
don't like
added
it.
one position, and he's reopened it and trying to get the person, and I agree, we need to look at another position next year, so we adequately staff the public works
Yeah.
department, so we don't have this issue.
But it's not just public works. I mean, clearly the theater, I'm assuming that part of this is comp time. I mean, that she didn't really have 7 weeks just straight paid
Well, I hope
vacation
not,
time.
because our code
overtime.
says you can only carry 6.
Well,
So,
you know,
if there's other time in there that's being used, that's another discussion altogether.
Yeah,
There could
right.
be. I don't understand how the theater would generate comp time, but that's beyond
when
my
you
understanding
figure
on
that
that
out, please
one.
let us know.
That's not
But
something.
it's not, I don't want
Okay.
everybody to think
Listen.
it is a highway.
For,
Gavel.
All right.
yeah, why don't we
Move
move along here so that we can get out here at a reasonable hour for a switch? I think everybody here would agree that the 11 o'clock hour has been a long, long haul, and I want to get out of here reasonably. I'm not trying to cut people short, but I agree that it needs to be looked at, and we will look at it.
The whole issue needs to be, but it's
Absolutely.
a complicated one that has no good solution.
No.
And we're into counselor comments,
Correct.
not,
Yeah. And Heather, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, apparently that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, now we'll go to Deb.
Not talking any longer.
I have nothing for tonight.
Caleb?
I've got nothing.
And I have nothing other than to thank everybody for all the hard work. Thank you for everybody what they do. I know the theater is a lot of work. Jim, thank you for volunteering for the committee that you're on. And I'm sure that's going to be a renewal. I know when I was a kid, your brother and I have talked about this at nauseum, that Pinnacle was a hub when we was kids. And I'd really like to see it be that way again, and I think it will be in time.
Well, I think there's a bunch of new younger families in there now, and that's what you need, is an influx of young families with young children, and they've had a banner year this year. Of course, the weather really helped them, but they got a good crew. They got a lot of volunteers, which is you need to have the volunteers. So. And they get, they're doing very well.
Yeah. That place, like I said, for people that weren't here, that place was a hub in the 70s and early 80s. It really, really was. And Colonel, thank you for coming in, and appreciate your service, and wish you all the luck with, hopefully they recruit some people, and that'd be interesting. Catherine, thank you for the hard work, and all the girls upstairs, and all the hard work, and
the
gentlemen as well.
And the gentlemen.
I didn't put my foot completely in my mouth, just my toes. And I'll look for motion adjourned.
We'll be adjourned.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. We are adjourned.
Don't ever say nay.
No one ever.
Oh my God, it feels so good to be out of here in 2 hours.
I hate that thing. Makes you run. I have to, high blood pressure.
They usually do.
I mean, for more than one day, that's for a butchery.
Come on a second, let me introduce you since we.
Let me know when you're home. And it'll probably rain tomorrow. Okay. And you have anything you want? Yeah.
No, actually, I think I'm going to home in the living room.
No, it's always,
I think I'll put it in the garage for now.
I can't remember. Whatever the fee is, we will certainly pay.
Yep, good enough.
And also, that other thing you suggested was go for it.
I think all the stuff.
Yep, actually, one more.
We have a theater committee meeting.
You're not gonna leave yet.
I just
Get my heart.
feel great.
Good, how are you?
Yeah.